Yeah. So I think you can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can see.
We can see it, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm great. Just give me a second. I just have to remove my other PC. Nice. Yeah. Is it visible, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
sir, it is
visible.
visible.
Yeah, because I can't see. Hi, everyone. As Dr. Seetal introduced myself, I'm Piyush Patel from Jet Propulsion Laboratory, NASA. I'm working as a NASA postdoctoral fellow since 2019, and my main focus is on the how the human-caused aerosols affect the climates. Aerosol is a kind of air pollutants which affects the climate, and what are the future impacts of changing climates. So today I'm going to deliver a talk on how is human-caused air pollution changing our climate. So I'll be very simple and very easy during my talk because I know we have a very general audience. So instead of showing a very complicated and detailed results, I just want to show you the how the air pollutions and particularly the aerosols affect the climate. Before this, I just want to show you some of the areas. I just want to introduce my organization here. It's a Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is a federal facility which is managed by the Caltech for the NASA. And if you can see, you are no longer presenting. Your screen is still visible while someone else is presenting. Hello.
I request the participants, please make sure you don't press the present now button.
Yeah.
And please pin Dr. Piyush Patel's screen.
Yeah. Now I think it is visible, right?
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
Yeah, so the JPL it is managed by the California Institute of Technology for the NASA, and JPL is known for the making some space-borne rover and robots for the Mars and moons, along with the Earth satellites. So you can see that we have a control rooms from where the engineers can manage the all the satellites in the orbit and the antennas which get the signals from the satellites. And the other side, you can see there are the clean white room where some of the scientists are trying to make some big instruments. Those are the rovers which they later on shifted to the moon or Mars. And if you can see the on the wall, there are some of the stickers just below the US flag and the NASA flags. Those are the satellite missions which are completed by the NASA JPL. And below also you can see the very latest robot. It's called Mars 2020. Is recently launched just before 3 months for the Mars, and the right side it's a lander in which the rover has installed along with the one Mars helicopter. So I don't have that photograph, but this is the just a basic introduction of my institute. Now, if I'll start with my topic, so in general, what is the pollutions? So pollutions are just the introduction of any substance or any form of the energy to the environment that has an adverse effect on the environment. And we have a number of pollutions such as air pollutions, land pollutions, water pollutions, noise pollutions, thermal pollutions, and etc. etc., which makes Earth cry. Among that, air pollution are the very serious issues nowadays, and it has a very deleterious impacts on the climate and as well as on the human health and the societies. Now, what is the air pollution? So here you can see the picture of uh, Indian Gate at New Delhi. Uh, so the left pictures is on October 17, 2019. You can say just before the coronavirus outbreak, and the right picture shows during the lockdown period. So you can see the difference in the image, which shows the the loading of the pollutants in the atmosphere or in the air. So before the lockdown, we have the heavy loading of noxious gases, particulate matter, and kind of aerosols, which are the pollutants which emit by the natural sources or by the human-made sources, and which sustain for some days or maybe for some hours in the atmosphere, and which reduce the visibility, and it has other deleterious impacts. And those emissions are reduced during the lockdown period due to the less human-made activities, and that shows the cleaning of atmosphere during the lockdown period. Now, why we need to study air pollutions? So these are the global chart which shows the left panel shows the global ranking of risk factor by total number of deaths from all causes. Now, if you can see the yellow marks of the total deaths due to the air pollutions are at the 5th rank in the global in the globe. So it shows that the air pollutions are really a toxic. And if you see the right panel, which shows the human health risk, and the particular pollutions or the atmospheric pollutions or air pollutions, which shows it reduced the human health by 1.8 years, and it is the highest number of age reduced by the particular parameter, that is a particular pollutions. Now this shows why we need to care about the air pollutions. Now, what cause an air pollutions? So we have some primary pollutants such as nitrogen oxides, volatile organic, sulfur oxides, and carbon monoxides, along with some particulates which are in the form of solid states, which are the pollutants, primary pollutants in the atmosphere, which leads to the air pollutions. And from where it comes, so we have a transportations, we have industrial processes, we have some fuel combustions, solid waste deposition, and some of the miscellaneous which contains the natural pollutants, or the natural source of pollutants, which are these are the source from where this primary pollutants comes into the atmosphere, and that leads to the air pollutions. Along with that, if you see, there are the basic two kind of sources we have: natural sources and the anthropogenic sources. So in natural sources, you can see organic compounds from plants or trees. So trees and plants also emit some of the organic compounds. I don't want to go in much detail in that, but other than that, we have a sea salt which emits from the oceans, then suspended soils or the dust which emits due to the friction of the surface due to high wind speed, and we have a volcanic eruptions which emits the sulfates in the atmosphere. Along with that, anthropogenic sources are like fuel combustions due to transportations, due to industrial sources, and agriculture burning, which are the very serious practice nowadays by the farmers, which affects the which has a very deleterious socio-economical impacts to the country. And if you can see, I just want to show you why we have a very serious air pollution impact. So if you can see the right picture, which is the longest traffic recorded in China, which is by 260 kilometers, and this shows the increasing populations along with increasing energy demand increase the economical growth, and that needs energies, and that turns into the consumption of more and more fuels, and that leads to the more and more air pollutions. And believe me, this is a really horrible pictures. Now, I don't want to go into how air pollution affects the health, but I want to show you the another side of the air pollutions, that is the how air pollution affects the climate. So before that, I just want to show you that what is the climate and what is the climate change. So we heard usually the two words, one is weather, one is climate. And normal people, they don't know the difference between weather and climate. So weather is the current state of atmosphere. So when I tell today is the temperature 26 degrees Celsius, or today's wind speed is 3 km/h, it means I'm talking about the weather. So weather is just a current state of atmosphere. You can say hardly like for 3 days or 4 days, like in the coming 3 days, the temperature will be 26 degrees Celsius or maybe the 30 degrees Celsius. So when when I am talking about the short time atmospheric conditions, then I'm talking about the weather. But when I'm talking about the climate, it is the average of weather for over many years, and normally the people are using 30 years of data to tell something about the climate. So it's average value over average value of weather over many years. And when I say the climate change, so we have a climate pattern for a particular area over the using the long many years data, and the change in that pattern shows the climate change. And this climate change, due to the recent change in the atmosphere, see, leads to the increasing drought, increasing heat waves, increasing floods, that we can easily see that how the climate is changing. So what is the climate change? So increasing temperature, increasing droughts, increasing hurricanes. So nowadays, like Arabian Sea also are getting the lot of hurricanes. And if you I don't know if you heard or not, but previously, just before the 10 years, Arabian Sea are very calm and they don't have the much hurricanes, but nowadays it increased, and that is just the impact of climate change. Then sea level rise. If you go to the Bangladesh and see the coastal regions, there are around kilometers of areas now it dump into the oceans, and the people, they lose their land, they lose their houses just because of the sea level rise due to the climate change. So air pollutions have a very serious impact on climate, and they both have a reciprocal relationship. So that I will discuss later. But now, particularly air pollutants, I'll talk. So air pollutants contains like noxious gases, then particulate matters, and the aerosols. And believe me, the aerosols have a very serious impact than the other greenhouse gases or other particular matter, because aerosols are short-lived component which lives for hardly for a day or a week in the atmosphere, and that it got deposit, but it has a very serious impacts that I will talk later. So what is aerosol? So aerosols are particles or the suspending gas which lies in the atmosphere, and it has a size range from few nanometer to the 100 micron. And these are just a picture that what are the source of the aerosol. So as I discussed previously, that we have industrial emissions, we have a transportation facility, we have agriculture burning, we have volcanic eruptions, we have sea salt from the oceans, the dust from the deserts. So that all increase the atmospheric aerosols. Now, if you see the global aerosol budget, in that the 70% of aerosols comes from the natural aerosols, where 30% are from the anthropogenic sources. Now, when you see these numbers, you can tell that the natural aerosol have a more serious impact than the anthropogenic sources. But if you'll see the just consider the scenario just before the 50 years before, like 50 years before, we have the natural aerosols as it is, but we have a very less amount of anthropogenic sources. And in that period, the like previous for 50 years previous, the air pollutions are very less. We have a very fresh airs, we have a like very less health impacts. And see the conditions now, where the anthropogenic sources are just increased, natural sources are as remain as what it was previously 50 years before. So the slight increase in anthropogenic sources have a very deleterious impact. Now consider the scenario, just think about the scenario where these numbers are reversed. It means the 70% of anthropogenic sources contributions and 30% of natural sources contributions. You can't live in that scenario. So this is really a really deleterious impact of aerosols. Now I'll talk about what are the types of aerosols. So there are the multiple ways you can distribute the aerosols. One is it from its size. So it varies, as I told, from few nanometer to 100 microns, and you can see that there are the nucleation mode, which varies from 1 to 10 nanometer, then Aitken mode, which varies from 10 to some 50 to 60 nanometer. Then after 50 to 60, we have a accumulation mode particles, which varies up to 1000 nanometer, and later then it has a coarser mode aerosols. So we have various type of aerosol due to its size. And if you'll see the nucleation 8-cone mode particle are mostly the carbonaceous particles, which contains the carbon in their chemical compositions. And if you see the accumulation mode are mostly the aqueous haze, when they are carbon kind of particles or atmospheric gas, which turns into the solid due to the chemical processes, and it just grow little bit and it forms the accumulation mode particles. I'm sorry. Hello. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible to us. We can hear you.
Yeah, actually, I got just disturbance. Yeah, so now the other types are the other types of aerosol are due to the emission sources. So as I told previously, we have a natural aerosols and anthropogenic aerosols are distributed due to its emission sources. And the third is the primary aerosol and the secondary aerosol. So primary aerosols are the particles which directly emits from the source and comes into the atmosphere. It is like industrial aerosols, biomass burning, or the soot. And second is the secondary aerosol, which so we have a source which emits the gaseous particles, and it due to its chemical process within the atmosphere, it turns into the other form of aerosols, and that calls the secondary aerosols, such as sulfates from industrial SO2, then organic matter from biogenic aerosols, and nitrate from the NOx. Along with these examples, there are certain virus and bacteria that also forms the aerosols, and that called the biogenic aerosols, and which also those also have the certain impacts in the climate that I'm not gonna discuss today because it will be a very lengthy then. Now the question is how you can monitor the aerosols. So there are multiple ways to monitor the aerosol. You can monitor the aerosol from the ground-based instruments. So these are the examples of certain instruments you can use to measure the aerosols. So we can measure the aerosols by its size. So what are the size of aerosol present over particular location, or you can measure the number concentration of aerosol. So how many number of particles present per centimeter cube or per centimeter square that you can measure. There the other way of measuring aerosol is aerosol optical depth. So how it will measure? So you have the solar radiations coming from the sun to the earth when it enters into the atmosphere. So from atmosphere to when it reaches to the surface, how much attenuation or how much absorption or scattering happens due to the aerosols. So when you are in the earth, you are measuring the radiations. When it enters into the atmosphere, you have the value. So now you can just see the difference in this top of the atmosphere over the atmosphere value of radiations and at the surface value of radiations, and you can see that there are the difference that is because of the attenuation due to the kind of aerosol particles, and that attenuation you can integrate with the height, and that gives you the aerosol optical depth, which is a very basic parameter for the aerosol measurements. Now the other type of monitoring platform is balloon based measurements, where people are launch some balloons along with some instruments, and they will get the vertical profile of atmospheric aerosols up to certain heights. Like this height is vary with the capability of balloon. So sometimes it will reach up to the 10 kilometer, it goes up to 21 kilometer, it goes up to 30 kilometer in the atmosphere, and you will get the information for a particular location, vertical information of aerosols. Now the third platform is the satellite based measurements. So we have the lot of satellites which measure the aerosol loading in the atmosphere, and satellite is like there are some limitations of a satellite. So satellite only just measures the whatever the radiation coming from the surface, and on that basis we have to apply some physical equations to derive the aerosol optical depth. So satellite it only limited to measure the aerosol optical depth. It won't give you any other parameter like aerosol number concentration or what are the size of aerosols. So that kind of detailed parameter or physical or chemical properties of aerosol you can't get from the satellite. But the benefit of the satellite that you will get a picture of over the globe within a day. So like if you have a ground-based instrument, it installed at a particular location, you will have the data over that location only. Though it is detailed observations, but it is at the particular location, and you can't justify whole globe with that particular locations. And the other side, we have a satellite which gives you the global data sets, but it has a limitation that it only gives the aerosol optical depth, not the detailed observations. So there are the platforms and there are the limitations of all the platforms, which also actually affect the aerosol uncertainty in the climate. So that I'll talk later. Now, as my work is mostly focused on the how the satellite measures the aerosols and how it affects the climate. So I'll talk about the aerosol from satellite. So you can see that here are the left top picture is from the MODIS. It's a sensor in the Terra satellite, and it measures the aerosol optical depth. I don't know, I can, yeah. So you can see the variation of aerosol optical depth over globe from 2000 to, I think 2020 I have, or 2019. So you can see the dark red portion shows the very high loading of aerosols over that particular locations, and it has a seasonal variation also. So at particular month, you will have some high loading over at particular location. So if you'll see over India, most of the time, the northern India is highly polluted, or you can say highly concentrated aerosols you can find over the northern India portion, along with that northern African region where you have a Saharan desert is there, and the Middle East. So that dust aerosol you can easily detect from the satellites. So these are the pictures you can get from the satellite. Then the right panel shows the seasonal variations of aerosol optical depth from the MISR, is another sensor over in the Terra satellite, which gives you the aerosol optical depth with the detailed resolutions. So you can see that during the monsoon period, we have a very high loading of aerosols. So that actually coming from the other side. So that depends on the air mass too. So from where your wind is there, and that winds comes along, the aerosol comes along with that winds, and that dump over the India, or maybe you can say any other region. So that also increase the aerosol loading over that particular locations. Now there are multiple processes also there in the atmosphere which change the aerosol loading in the atmosphere, such as emissions, which emit the aerosol. Then we have a coagulation and condensation, which actually grows the aerosol particle in the atmosphere. Then we have a you can say deposition. There are two different type of deposition: wet deposition and dry deposition. So wet deposition is due to the rainfall, the particle will comes in the surface from the atmosphere, and dry deposition means it has some limited capability of resident. So the aerosol have some limited time. For that, it lies into the atmosphere. Light is lies into the atmosphere. After certain time, it comes again to the surface due to gravitational impacts. And if you see these three images, those are from the satellite-based LIDAR observations called CALIOP from the Calypso satellite, and that gives you the vertical information of atmospheric constitute. Out of that, you can derive that what type of constitute you have in the atmosphere. So you can see the yellow or orange portion shows the aerosols, then the sky blue shows the clouds and the other parameters, and after that you can also distinguish those aerosol in the type. So if you see the yellow line in the last image shows the dust flying in the atmosphere from one place to other place. Then reddish portion shows the polluted continental aerosols, or you can say urban aerosols. The green shows the clean continental aerosols. So you have some aerosols which are you can say clean. I don't want to go in much detail because otherwise it will be very complicated. And if you see the brown portion which shows the polluted dust, means dust which interact with the other polluted particles such as black carbon or carbonous particles, and that leads to the polluted dust. So this kind of information you can get from the satellites. Yeah, more than that, we have some more satellites which gives you the other parameters than the aerosols, kind of NO2, SO2, which are type of gaseous, you can say gaseous particles in the atmosphere. So these are just a picture. I just want to show you the capability of satellite. So you can see the very first image over the China. This shows the nitrogen dioxide emissions over China just before the lockdown period or just before the Corona period. It is on 30th November 2019. Now you can see during the lockdown period, it's a 10th March 2020, when the Corona is on the peak. You can see the reduction of the NOx, so reduction of the pollutants. And after this lockdown, means the very recent picture, 10th April 2020, again this emission has started. So satellite has capability to measure all these very short time changes in the aerosol, or you can say atmospheric constitute. Along with that, you can see this same image over the India, which shows the change in NOx or nitrogen dioxide over the India's before the lockdown and during the lockdown. So you can see in the lockdown period, the orange peaks are reduced relatively. Just you have some few peaks are there. That is because of the power plant which continuously emit the nitrogen dioxides. Other than that, the industrial sources of NOx are reduced just because of the less activities during the lockdown. So this type of very short changes in the atmospheric constituents are also detectable from the satellites, and it gives you a very wide picture of the atmosphere. Now, how the aerosol affect to the climate? So there are two major impacts of aerosols. One is direct effect, or you can say aerosol radiation interactions. In that, aerosols particles, due to its chemical properties, it's absorb the radiation or it scatter the radiations. That varies according to its chemical properties. And because of these absorptions and scattering of the radiations, it changed the solar radiation which coming to the Earth's surface or which going back to the space, and that is called the aerosol radiation interaction or the direct effect. And the other effect is indirect effect, in which aerosols which so we have a water vapor in the atmosphere which condense or which deposit over the aerosol particles, and those aerosol particles forms the cloud condensation nuclei, or you can say cloud droplet, which further forms the clouds. And those cloud droplets which have collisions among each other, and that forms the rain droplet. And those rain droplets are after certain size that comes to the Earth's surface due to gravitational impact. Now those cloud condensation nuclei made from the aerosols have certain impacts which change the cloud properties due to the size of aerosol and due to its chemical properties of aerosols, and that varies according to its types. And because of that, it changed the rainfall. So you can see here we have a very high rainfall, here we have very less rainfall, and also it changed the radiation which emits which going back to the space or which coming to the Earth. And so it has an indirect effect. It is not directly affect the radiation, but it forms the clouds, and then clouds affect the radiation budget. Hello. I think again.
Now you can present.
Yes, some change came. Yeah. Now it is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah. Yeah. So the second is aerosol indirectly affect the radiation by affecting the cloud properties, and that is called indirect effect. And one more effect is that aerosol semi-direct effect, in which there are certain type of aerosol which comes around the cloud, and due to its absorbing nature of the radiation, it absorbs the radiation, and it heat the particular layer of the atmosphere, and due to the heating of the atmosphere, it reduces the cloud by evaporation, and it reduces the radiation which going back to the space, and that is called semi-direct effect. Other than this, it has an impact on the visibility. So you can see these are the northern Indian picture from the satellite. So the left picture shows the very very clean picture of northern India from the satellite. But if you see the right picture, there are the heavy kind of hazy pictures, hazy layers you can see easily from the satellite. That is actually the uh, aerosols which forms the haze due to the very high concentration of aerosols within the lower surface. So that forms the haze, or you can say winter haze. This mostly you can see in the winter time. And if you see carefully, you can see the small white picture in these hazy feature. That is your fog formations. So very high loading of aerosol concentration and the presence of water vapor in the atmosphere forms the fog also. So due to this winter haze or the fog formation, it reduces the visibility, and it also affects the aviations. It also affects the agriculture, and it has a socio-economical impacts. So this is also the very important effect of aerosols. Other than that, there are one more effect. I think you all people have heard about cloud bursting. So how that cloud bursting happens? So the upper portion shows the very clean environment when you don't have the much aerosols in the atmosphere, and in that period your clouds forms like a very gradual way, and it goes after certain height. It's like a 0 degrees Celsius, and it forms into the ice clouds, and later it precipitate out. But what happened in the hazy conditions? Your aerosols comes into the picture. It forms the clouds with the smaller particles, because aerosol have a very small size relative to cloud droplet. After those small particles, which goes to goes beyond 0 degrees Celsius, it forms the ice cloud with the less small particles, and due to the smaller size of particles, it won't collide to each other. It means it won't form the rain droplet, because to precipitate out or to reduce the cloud, it has to be comes together and forms the rain droplet. But because of the reduction in the size of the cloud droplet, it won't forms the rain droplet, and it further grows, and it further grows, and after certain time, when you have a very high loading of cloud droplets, it will collide each other, and it forms the rain droplets in a plenty of numbers, and suddenly it precipitate out, and that leads to the cloud bursting. So that is the very serious impact. Like people have heard over the Uttarakhand, there are a lot of cloud burstings happens over the years. Now, going into the further detail, I just want to show you one picture of Earth radiation budget. So like in our family, we have a money budget. So certain amount of money is coming through your salary, and certain amount of money you are spending due to your expenses, and certain amount of money you are saving. So this all called the budget. So similarly, we also have a budget for the Earth radiation. So there are certain amount of, I won't go into the numbers, but there are certain amount of solar radiation coming to the Earth. When it enters into the atmosphere, certain amount of energies are absorbed or scattered by the atmospheric constituents such as greenhouse gases, atmospheric aerosols, or the clouds. So they absorb the certain amount of radiation, and certain amount of radiations are scattered back to the space, and the remaining amount of energy which comes to the surface. So these are all the solar radiations, which varies from 0.25 to 4 micron. So these are the short wave radiation, you can say. There are the other budgets simultaneously going on. That is called long wave radiation budget, where you have a high wavelength radiations are coming into the pictures, and that is actually the emitted by the Earth each and every second. So certain amount of long wave radiations are emitted by the Earth, and that are coming back due to the greenhouse gases or the clouds, and certain amount of going into the space. Now, if you will calculate the numbers, how much it's coming and how much it is going, it should be equal. Then only your energy in the atmosphere are maintained. So this number should be equal, and that is called the Earth radiation budget. It is like you have a 10,000 amount of salary and you are spending 10,000, it means you are maintaining your money budget. But if you are spending 10,000, you are getting 10,000 and you are spending 20,000, mean you are in a debt. Or if you have a 10,000 salary and you are just spending 5,000, means you have something saving. So that all depends on the how your expenses are there. It is similarly here, these energy budgets are all depends on the atmospheric constitutes, which you can say your expenses in your money budget. So now the change in this atmospheric constitute, you can say either it is greenhouse gases or atmospheric aerosol or the cloud, which affects this radiation budget. Now change in this particular component, how much it affects the radiation budget, that is called radiative forcing. So like certain amount of aerosol, if it increase, it reduce the solar radiation which reaches at the surface. It means it cools the surface. So you can say that aerosol have a cooling effect on the surface. There are certain type of aerosol which absorbs the radiation and it heats the atmosphere. It means it warms the atmosphere. So you can say that aerosols have a warming impact. And that warming and the cooling, after that, it goes the change in the meteorology or dynamics, or you can say atmosphere circulations, and affects the precipitations, affects the planetary boundary height. So there are a lot of stuffs are there that I will talk later. But these are the budget and what is the radiative forcing. I just want to convey this from this figure. Now, why we need to study aerosols? So this picture shows, if you see left hand side, we have the different atmospheric components. You can say carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, methane, NOx, carbon monoxide, NOx, then aerosols. Then due to the change in albedo, albedo is like a surface reflectance of your Earth surface. So due to the change in the land use, so now it is like you have a I can say the over Ahmedabad, there are the before 50 years we have a like a very dense forest. Now it turns into the urban. So due to the change in surface, it also affects the what are the radiation coming back to the space. So that is called the albedo effect. So these are the components which affects the radiation, and in the right side, in the x-axis, we have the radiative forcing due to the each component. Now you can see the aerosol have as I told, aerosol have a two impact. One is aerosol direct impact. So this shows the aerosol direct impact, and the second shows the aerosol indirect effect. Now the uncertainty is its understanding. So the level of confidence, you can say it is still low for the cloud impact, and it is high for the aerosol direct effect. But if you see the level of uncertainty or see the length of error bars, which shows the level of uncertainty, it is relatively very high than the other atmospheric component. So this shows the understanding of the aerosols, its properties, either it is chemical or physical, or its impact to the climate, are still not understood very well. So this shows why we need to study aerosols. Now, as I told, we have different varieties of aerosol and it has a different impact. One is on radiation budget. Second is cloud properties. Now, due to change in cloud properties, it affects the monsoon, it affects the precipitations. So we have a change in the hydrological cycles. Then third, it has an impact on visibility. Then it also affects the marine environment, because certain times when you have a very high wind from the desert regions, it carries the dust along with it, and it deposits those dust over the oceans, and that dust normally contains the iron, and that iron is consumed by the chlorophyll, or you can say marine species, and there are change in their primary productivity, and there are a lot of changes in the marine species also. So it also affects the marine environment, and it also have the health effect. So there are very fine particles such as carbonaceous particle, or the very fine mode particle, you can say nucleation mode particle, which comes along with your breath and which dump into the lungs, and it goes certain times it causes the lung cancer too. So the aerosol have a varieties of impacts, and it is really deleterious impacts, and that's why we need to study aerosols. So as I told, like aerosol and climate have a reciprocal relationship. Means change in the aerosol change the climate. But I'm sorry, sorry, I put this arrow wrong. But the change in climate again changed the aerosols. So that I will discuss later. So it has a reciprocal impact. So you can see there are the complete loop. So aerosol have a impacts on climate, and changing climate also have the impacts on aerosols. So I'll discuss about certain other impacts of aerosols over the large scale, or over the large scale of atmospheric circulations. These are all focused over India only, because India is one of the biggest hotspots in the world for the aerosol. As I shown in the satellite pictures, like over India, we have a very high loading of aerosol. So there are the previous papers or previous research which shows the solar dimming effect. In that, what happened? You have the absorbing aerosol layer in the atmosphere. Now you have the solar radiation coming down to the surface. Now that absorbing kind of aerosols, which absorbs the radiations, and it reduces the radiation which are reaching to the Earth's surface. It means it's dimming the surface. I'm sorry. It's dimming the surface, and due to this dimming of surface, you know that we have a land ocean thermal gradients are there. Due to the change in temperature over the land and ocean, we have the breach kind of effects are there. So now in this scenario, when you have aerosol absorbing aerosol layers are there, and you have a solar dimming, or you can say solar cooling, surface cooling are there. Due to this surface cooling, there are the change in this thermal gradient, which weaken the circulations, which come the water vapor which are coming from the ocean to land, that will weaken down. And due to this weakening of circulation, it reduces the rainfall, or it reduces the monsoon. So you can say it has a drying pattern of the seasonal rainfall. And you know that just reduction of rainfall will also have an impact on agriculture and the human being, and it finally leads to the socio-economical impacts, and it affects the growth of country too. So these are the picture which shows. So you can see on y-axis we have a surface forcing, which shows the how much radiations, change in radiations which are coming to the surface due to aerosols, and x-axis have a aerosol. So it shows the reduction while increasing aerosol, it reduces the surface forcing. So it clearly shows the absorbing aerosol, which absorb the radiation, it reduces the surface forcing. And the down graph, the last graph, it's actually the simulated one. It's simulated through the model, which shows the change in precipitations due to greenhouse gases, a purple line. Orange line shows the change in precipitations due to aerosols. These are the model line, and the green line shows the observed precipitation change. So you can see the change in precipitation due to the aerosol. The orange line shows the reductions in the future. So this projection is up to 2050. And if you continue these projections with the observed value of, so the orange line is the aerosol observed in the 1998. So those they have taken as a reference, and they have simulated the other years for the change in precipitations. But if you see the green line, which shows the observation of the precipitation, and after that, if they will continue, it further reduce the monsoon for the with respect to aerosols. So you can see the reduction in the precipitation is almost at 20% by the 2050. So you can see almost the half of the India won't get water for drinking in the 2050. And that is very deleterious impact. So forget about washing clothes, washing your other utensils. You won't get even water for the drinking if the condition will be remain same. Now the other impacts is elevated heat pump. So in that, what happened? We have the aerosol absorbing. As I told, that northern Indian have the winter haze, so they are mostly the absorbing aerosols, which actually deposit over the Himalayan region. So this gray area shows the Himalaya. So you have this high layer, high elevated layer, it's the Himalaya. So over the Himalaya slope, your absorbing aerosols are deposit there, and due to the deposition of aerosol, absorbing aerosol, it warms the atmosphere by absorbing the solar radiations, and due to absorbing of solar radiations, your ocean land bridge means the circulations. So if you see during the monsoon, you have a warming impact of over the land and cooling over the oceans, and due to the change in temperature, we have one circulation. So your moisture will coming from the ocean to land, and it will get precipitate out, and you will get the water in form of rainfall. Now, due to the presence of absorption aerosol in over the Himalayan, uh, the circulations what happened from ocean to land, it just shifted little bit over the northern India. So instead of central India or the southern India, it shifted towards the northern India, and it get precipitated out over the northern India. It means you have a drought impact over the central India or over the southern India just because of the elevated heat pump, and due to the high loading of moisture, you may have a cloud bursting over the northern India. So these are the one hypothesis what people have studied using the models and the observation. These are the first hypothesis. These are the second hypothesis. There are one more, you can say, theory for the monsoon and aerosol relationship. So we have a desert in our western side of the India. It's like a Middle East and the South Africa. And due to the desert regions, we have a high loading of desert dust, which emits through the wind in the atmosphere. And this high loading of dust are usually absorbing in the nature, that absorbs the solar radiation, and it again cools the surface, warms the atmosphere. And due to this warming the atmosphere, we have a temperature gradient as well as the difference in pressure. And due to this difference in pressure, it carries high amount of moisture to the India due to this monsoonal wind. And this high amount of moisture over the India increase the monsoon rainfall. So we have two hypotheses which shows the reduction of aerosols, but that is because of the kind of carbonous particle. And this is one more hypothesis which shows the increase of rainfall due to the dust kind of aerosols. So this shows the variety of aerosol have a different impact in the climate. Now there are one more impact which shows the snow darkening effect. So I think you can see the picture, the B picture, 15 June picture. This shows the we have a Himalayan aya snow. So this white portion shows the snow over Himalaya, and if you see, certain areas are brown in the pictures. So that shows the deposition of dust or the black carbon particles on the layer of snow. And what that will do, that will reduce the whatever the surface reflectance coming over from that surface to the atmosphere or to the space. So you can see this graph which shows the reflectance coming from the Earth's surface. It got reduced by the day. So February, it starts from February, then March and April, and then May, and then June. So it reduced for each and every wavelength. So this reduction is due to the deposition of aerosol over that snow. And this also, the reduction of reflectance again changed the radiation budget or the radiative balance, and it affects the climate. The last year, I also have studied one more hypothesis. So this is the picture what I'm showing from my own research. So that shows we have actually, as I told, like we have aerosol cloud interactions or the indirect effect of aerosols. So we have a particular type of aerosol called dust, which are very good to form the ice nuclei. So certain aerosols are good for the cloud condensation nuclei, which are in the liquid form of the cloud droplets, and certain type of aerosols which are mostly the hydrophobic aerosols, which forms the ice nuclei directly in the solid form, and that leads to the ice clouds. So we have two types of clouds: liquid clouds and ice clouds in general. So certain aerosols forms the water cloud, certain forms the ice cloud. So dust are good for the ice cloud formations. So what we have observed through the multi-satellite observations, that the dust which forms the ice nuclei, or ice, you can say ice droplet in the atmosphere, that increase the ice cloud size but reduce the ice crystal because they won't grow much. And due to the more freezing, it increase the ice water content, or you can say ice content in the within the cloud. And increase of ice content, it increase the precipitations, because after certain time, and as I told, it's like a cloud bursting. It again, yeah, it is visible. Yeah, so due to the increase of ice concentrations in the cloud, it increased the precipitations. And again, this increasing precipitations have a negative feedback. It means it increasing rainfall, it reduced the dust. So the kind of negative feedback precipitation have on the dust aerosols. So this is also the impact what how the aerosol affect the ice clouds particularly. Now, very recent study of mine which shows how the aerosol affects the visibility. You can say visibility, or you can say the uh, atmospheric stability. So atmospheric stability, what is atmospheric stability? So we have a we have a one state of atmosphere where you have a very calm wind speed, very calm wind, very less precipitations are there. So we don't have much activity in the atmosphere. So that is called like a stable atmosphere. While in the during the monsoon time, you can see very high wind speed. We have even vertical wind also very high, horizontal wind also very high. So it leads to the very high high activities within the atmosphere, and it called the unstable atmosphere. So during the unstable atmosphere, your lot of water vapor along with the pollutants goes into the cloud or goes into a particular height, and it forms the clouds, and it again affects the clouds, as I discussed in the previous slide. But what happened during the atmosphere, when atmosphere is stable, you don't have the much activity in the atmosphere. Does aerosol affect the climate or not? So the very recent study of mine shows, so during the left, very left picture shows the these are the Indo-Gangetic plain in the northern Indian region, which are the very flat plain, and due to the very calm atmosphere, very less precipitations, very less wind speed, the aerosols are dumped within the certain region. So you can see the very reddish area. That is the region where the all aerosol dumps, and the dumping of aerosols are reduce the surface reaching radiation. So this area, you can see whitish area, it shows the reduction of surface reaching solar radiations. And the down picture shows the climatology. It means we have used almost 2 decades of data, and the red in this picture shows the increasing trend of that aerosol. So over the time, over the last 2 decades, the aerosol concentrations are increased over these regions. Now you have a very calm conditions, and you have a high loading of aerosols that completely shows that over that regions, the anthropogenic activities or human-made activities are increased, which further increase the pollutants level. And this increasing pollutant levels reduce the solar radiation by the time. And this reduction of solar radiations, it means you have the absorbing aerosol present in the atmosphere. So this atmospheric warming, this shows the atmospheric warming that also increased by the time. So you have data, we have data from 2002 to 2019, almost 2 decades of data. It shows the increasing heating, or you can say atmospheric warming by the time. And this increasing atmospheric warming again affect the atmospheric stability. So if you can see the last picture, so we have an increasing aerosol which affects the surface reaching solar radiations. It means it increased the surface cooling, it increased the atmospheric absorption. Now due to increasing absorption and cooling, it affects the atmospheric stability. Means it forms certain kind of layer which trap the all pollutants within the lower surface of the atmosphere, and it increase the relative humidity. It is like a water vapor in the atmosphere. Now this increasing water vapor again provide the more water for the aerosols, so that aerosol absorbs that water and it grows in a size. So that growth in a size called the hygroscopic growth of aerosols. So it again increase the size. Now increasing size again affects the radiations. It means you have again high aerosol loading due to this increasing size, or you can say aerosol optical depth. So that is one cycle. The another cycle is due to the increase in atmospheric stability in water vapor, it it reduces the development of certain boundary layers in the atmosphere. So in the atmosphere, we have a certain boundary layers at particular heights, and that varies according to the season. And your all pollutants are trapped within that boundary layers. So due to the increasing stability, you don't have a much activity in the atmosphere, and that reduce the development of that boundary layer height. And this reduction of boundary layer height means you have one container of a 1 meter. It has a 10 particles. Now when you emit radiation from the one end to the another end, the change in the radiations are relatively very low when you have the container of a half meter, because within the half meter you have a 10 particles, means you have a very dense atmosphere compared to the 1 meter of container. So when the boundary layer height is reduced, it means you have a very less distance of the atmosphere, and with the very high aerosol number concentration or aerosol loading. Now that reduce again the solar radiations, and it increase the AOD, and again this loop will start. So this loop will never stop, and that is the reason why we have the increasing trend of aerosol by the time since the 2 decades. So these are the very recent studies what we have done over here. Now these are the very basic pictures. I just want to convey you that how pollutions or air pollutants affects the climate. I don't have much more right now for you audience. So thank you for your patience. And this shows the relatively very horrible pictures when all the ice are melt and only just 2 penguins are remain at a particular ice shelf, and they are finding the other location to move, but they don't have the way. So this is kind of the climatic impact we are facing right now due to the change in the pollutants, or due to the change in aerosol, I can say. So yes, I'm done now. So if you have any question, you can ask. I'll come to the okay.
Now participants can ask their questions to Dr. Piyush. You can turn your mic on, or you can also write question in the chat option. So Akshay Chauhan is asking, what are the easy ways to open and operate HDF files from?
So HDF is a file format generally you will get from the satellite data. So satellite is whatever the satellite data is there, that is in the form of HDF. That is a kind of format like we have the format of image in JPEG, PNG, or you have a file like in text in DAT or in ASCII. So these are the formats of the satellite data. .hdf or .nc. Now generally .hdf is a kind of a tabular form of the data, in which it is easy way to handle those data is you have to learn your own programming language. Any kind of programming language you can learn, kind of Python or kind of R or Fortran or C++. So every programming language can handle those data sets. So it is compulsory, I think, to use your own programming language, your own code to handle the satellite data, because there are some third-party softwares are available, but they have their own limitations, and after certain times you again will stuck in that, and again you will ask for the another solution. So it is better to learn one programming language and handle your data by yourself. So yeah, so it is the good option, like you can learn like very latest Python, R, or Julia kind of programming language to handle the HDF.
Participants can ask questions.
Yeah, I think I can see some of the questions.
You
Like Meghna Dak has asked, what is the simplest way one can use and contribute to nature so that aerosol content gets reduced and situation can come in a balanced form? Then you have to lock down yourself to your home. That is the only way right now we can reduce the aerosol content, like what we have done during the Corona period. Like as I shown the pictures, the pollutions are reduced drastically. And I heard some of the news that like Punjab people also can see the Himalaya. So that is the only way, like drastically, we can change the aerosol in the atmosphere. Then, yeah. So Akshay Choi, what are the easy way to open an opera? Yeah, that is done. Dr. Gaurang Dubal asks, an effective way to reduce aerosol effects. So it is like whenever the aerosol presence in the atmosphere, it definitely affects the climate because they have to show their presence to the climate. Like, yes, I am present here, so I am affecting you. You do whatever you want to do. So the effective way is you just reduce the aerosol concentration from the atmosphere. And that is how you can reduce the transportation, you can reduce your consumption of fuel. So you can start going by bicycle instead of going by car if it is possible for a short distance. You can use the public transport. So kind of stuffs we can do which reduce the aerosol emissions in the atmosphere, which further reduce the impact of climate. Yeah, so I have one more question from Siva Prasad Das. What is the most effective method to clean indoor aerosol? Do home AC clean it? Thanks in advance. Yeah, so yeah, I forgot to mention that we have a two type of pollutions are there. One is indoor pollution, second is outdoor pollutions. So whatever I told, it is mostly about the outdoor pollutions. Indoor pollutions, like as Siva mentioned, that yes, we have the pollution from the AC, we have the pollution from the fuel we are using in the house. So if you go into village, they are using the chula. Still, that practice gives you the more indoor pollutions. And believe I have the states which shows the indoor pollution cause more death than the outdoor pollutions, because you will directly face the indoor pollutions. So the reduction of indoor aerosol or indoor pollutions, you just have to change your practices of using kind of fuel. So instead of using, like instead of using wood as a fuel, you can switch to the gas like methane or something, whatever gas we are getting. So kind of practice you can do, or you can, like nowadays people are getting some kind of plants which reduce the indoor air pollutions, which absorbs the pollution or kind of particles. So that plants you can use. And the best way to reduce the all over the aerosol is just the save trees or increase the trees level. So that is the only way we can drastically change the aerosol impacts. Nowadays, the recent pictures of satellites shown in the 2018, 19, and 20, and China and India have grown a lot of forest in their countries. So means we are contributing for the good climate instead of the hazardous climate. So clap for us. We can clap for us. Yeah, we have a very good efforts. Yeah. One more question is Sonali Borkar asking is, what is the initial method used to measure size of aerosol particles? Yeah, so there are multiple ways to measure the aerosol particle size. There are the electromagnetic waves. So we have some plates. After in between that plates, we are passing the aerosol particles, and those particles, due to the deposition of particle due to its size, you can measure the size. The second way is the laser emission. So we have a laser in the instrument that emits the laser to the particle, and that particle, when it encounters the laser, it again give back to some of the reflected radiations, and due to the change in that reflectance, you can measure the size. There are again one more method is due to the mobility, or you can say free pathway of particle can also gives you the size. So there are multiple ways you can measure the size of aerosol particles in the atmosphere. That is the mechanism in the atmosphere into instruments. But there are the multiple instruments available nowadays in the market which measures the size of aerosol particles. But it is not possible from the satellite. Yeah, one more question. I think Sena Sonali, why others start sharing screen? Oh, I'm sorry. That is not a question. Then yeah, I think it is done. Yeah, I have one question from Jayesh Dalani. Respected sir, China made air pollution absorption tower. Is it successful technique to remove particulates from atmosphere? What is the output capacity air pollution tower? Yeah, so air pollution's tower is reducing the atmospheric pollutants for particular locations, because like you have a India, we can install at particular location in the Surat. I can say you are installing at your university. It can reduce the particles in the atmosphere for that location, but it is not reducing even for the Surat itself. So for that you have to install multiple towers, and it costs more. So it gives you the additional budget for that. So I don't know for whole the India how much budget we need. I think it may be more than the army budget what we are right now spending. So that is not a better way to reduce the aerosol. So it is like instead of reduce our daily activity, we are just finding the other alternative way to reduce the aerosol. That is not a good option, because again you are increasing the activity to maintain that tower. So you have to go by the transport, you have to use your transport, you have to go by car. So again you are increasing the emissions, and you are telling that tower just reduce the pollution. That is not actually the effective way to reduce the aerosol. It is just a simple way: increase the tree, reduce your activity, and enjoy the climate. That is very simple way, but we are not following that. That is our unfortunate that we are not following that way. Yeah, I think I'm done with the questions. If anybody have more questions, they can ask. Yeah, one more question I got from Rima Chakravarti. Can we estimate the global warming potential if we know the radiative forcing? Yes, Rima, the global warming is due to the change in radiative forcing. How much change is happening in the temperature of atmosphere, and this change in temperature, it shows the change in global warming. So if you want to quantify the global warming, you just have to see the change in temperature due to the particular components, either it is from greenhouse gases or either it is from aerosols. So you can quantify that global warming potential or impacts. Yeah, so one more question I have. Meghna Dak is asking, sir, in which part of world the highest content of aerosol is present? Actually, the aerosol concentration varies seasonally, but there are certain locations which have every day or every whole over the year, it has a high loading of aerosol. One is northern India, Indo-Gangetic Plain. It's the highest highly polluted region in the world. Second is the China, eastern China. So now they are actually improving. They are reducing the recent data shows that they are reducing the pollutants. But the India, specifically IGP, it increased a lot. There are other regions over the Saharan desert. There are certain regions in the Northern America, particular region. They are the small region, but the large region is the Indo-Gangetic Plain, what I showed in my slide also. Then one more question, Parth Gupta is asking, what kind of chemistry goes on inside the aerosol, and how does the chemistry affect the global climate? Oh, it's a very nice question. So there are various kind of chemistry we have in the aerosol according to its type. So when you have a carbonious particle, you know that there are the carbon are there when it interacts with the other particles. So they merge into it, and it has a different chemistry, and change in this chemical property change their nature also. So like there are the natural dust which are normally the absorbing but relatively lower than the carbonious aerosol. Now that dust are deposited via carbonious particles. So the carbon particle comes and deposit over the dust, it increased the capacity of absorbing aerosol of that particle. So it changed the chemistry, because now if you'll see the sample of that particle through the microscope or electron microscope, you can see the change in chemical composition, and that changed its capacity of absorbing nature of radiations, and also it changed the absorption of water vapor from the atmosphere, and that again changed its hygroscopic growth, and again changed the formation of clouds, and again change the precipitation level. So they were very multiple, and that is the reason why we have the high uncertainty, what I showed in that bar chart. Why we have a high uncertainty? Because of this kind of impacts. Like we have a variety of aerosols, they have a interaction among them, and that leads the uncertainty in the chemical properties and physical properties of aerosols. Yeah, so one more question, Akshay, how aeronet data is close to satellite data for validation of field observations. There are bias in satellite data because the platform are varies. Aeronet data are relatively accurate than the satellite data, because satellite data is not directly measure the aerosol particle. It just measures the radiation coming from the Earth, and after applying certain physical equations or physics equation, you have to retrieve aerosol properties out of that radiations. So you are applying some bunch of equations, and those are the kind of algorithm where you are assuming certain type of values or certain parameters, and that assumption again increase the uncertainty along with the your atmospheric conditions. So like you have a clear sky condition, you don't have the cloud, you can easily retrieve the aerosol. But when you have a cloud in between, so that clouds actually stop the radiation coming from the Earth's surface, and because of that presence of cloud, satellite cannot measure the aerosol. So that again increase the uncertainty, right? But aeronet don't have that. So yes, aeronet are relatively accurate than the satellite data, but aeronet is again the ground-based observation. It gives only at the particular locations. So the other audience, they don't know about the aeronet. So aeronet is a network which are made by the NASA. So they have actually installed a kind of instrument that is called sun sky radiometer at almost of more than 400 sites in the world, all over the world, which measures the aerosols, and that network called the aeronet. Yeah. So,
Sir, due to time constraints, now I think
okay,
we can end our question answer session. And I request our principal, sir, Dr. Anish Kumar Sharma, for giving vote of thanks.
Yeah.
Mike, sir. Anish, sir.
Hello. Thank you, Sadafara
Yes.
ma'am. I, Dr. Anish, Principal, School of Science, on the behalf of PP Savani University, express profound gratitude to our expert speaker, Dr. Piyush Patel, for conduction of such an informative webinar for our the participants, which includes students, researchers, scientists, and faculties across India. I thank you, sir, for sharing your knowledge with the participants, and I invite you whenever you visit India, do visit our institute also. And thank you, sir. Thank you for the sharing such an valuable information regarding these clouds and aerosols and their impact on climate. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sadaf. Thank you, Sheetal ma'am. Thank you, Anish sir, actually for giving me an opportunity to facing this much a good crowd of students to introduce my topic. So I feel really this is a great opportunity what I got from you people. So I'm really thankful for this.
Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation. Yeah. I request all the participants to please fill your feedback form for e-certificates. Thank you, Dr. Piyush.
Yeah, I can close. Yes.
Yeah. It was a nice talk, and I really enjoyed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah,
you.
it was actually not my subject exactly, but I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone. And God bless you.
Yeah, thank you. Please fill your feedback forms. All the
Feedback form is
participants.
already shared in the chat option.
Yeah. Please fill your feedback form for attendance and e-certificates. All the participants, it's a request. Kindly please. These certificates will not be provided to those who don't share their feedback. हाँ